Excellent. So thank you, everybody, for coming to our meeting. I'm going to put our agenda into the chat. I put numbers on them this time to make it a little bit easier to actually tell where one ends and the other begins. And like we mentioned a little bit earlier before we started recording, a bunch of folks said that this time wouldn't work. We're going to talk more about meeting scheduling near the end of the agenda. First up is the signage for campus bins. I know that Jay has not been on campus lately. I think he might be out for a little bit. And I was supposed to email him, but of course, as tends to happen, I got busy and I did not. So I'm mainly keeping that on the agenda so that we don't drop the idea of the new signage, because I know RecycleMania, which is further down on the list, Campus Race to Zero Waste, that's coming up pretty soon. And I think a big plan of our strategy this year was to have the new signs help us out. So maybe we can still have that happen. And just a little background, I think all you folks have been here when we talked about this previously. Just trying to make the signage on campus a little easier so stuff goes into the correct bins. Now, the addition to the campus rental policy, this was something that I had talked to Christina Witt about, and I actually have a little bit of an update on this. I noticed that there's a new page, I think it might be under the facilities area of the website, where it has all of the policies and procedures and forms for folks to sign up to reserve spaces on campus. And this idea that we had is actually included right there on that page. I kind of did a quick scan and I was like, oh, cleaning fees. That's exactly kind of what we proposed. It's similar enough that unless people like, and I get this is kind of a Daryl thing, because this started originally when a lot of folks started renting the turf field for athletic purposes. And at one point there were Starburst wrappers all over the place, which were impossible to pick them all up. And so I'm going to double check with Daryl, and as long as he is happy with this addition, this change, the way things have gone, I think we've accomplished our purpose, which is to mainly have folks who are renting campus facilities realize that they're responsible for cleaning up and recycling and all that stuff when their event is over. So moving on, Roberta, you can update this in your section, which comes a little bit later too. But I have the nature trail sign refresh just because it's an ongoing project, and I know you had sent around some drafts of that. But Roberta, if you're okay, we'll just put that in later. Is that okay?
I can say it really quickly. We decided to order a stronger material, so we had a little bit of a backlog on waiting to get a much stronger material to use for it. But the most exciting great thing is, as of yesterday, the whole trail is completely newly reblazed with white painted, patiently painted markers, or on every tree. You cannot get lost on the trail now. Nobody could get lost ever.
I will take that challenge, Roberta. and great work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll get to your other stuff later. I know I try to group them together to make it easy for you.
No problem.
So the candy wrapper recycling, and this is really for everybody. I know we had some issues we had ordered some of these boxes and then some of them disappeared. And Tom, I don't know, I thought you were interested in ordering one for MCLA as well. I'm not sure if you ended up doing that.
Yeah, we got it.
Cool. And did that work? Like, this is basically for everybody, Tom, you included. Like, how did this work for everybody other than the boxes disappearing?
Well, it's funny because I put it out the first day I got it, which was about, I don't know, maybe a week before Halloween. And our maintenance staff thought it was an empty box, and and they were about to get rid of it. I was like, nah, I don't think so. Read the box. So anyway, so it survived, and we got about maybe a third of the box full.
Cool. I know that was
just got mailed back yesterday. I mean, today.
Perfect. Wonderful. And that was one of the hunches we had for our disappearing boxes. Yeah. Maybe facilities found them. Cody, I'm not sure if you were able to find any information on that.
I wasn't able to find any information on where that one ended up. Ours that was in the library in the digital commons area is pretty full. It's not compressed or anything, but we just gave out the last of the candy today, so it's being retired and it's going to be shipped back. Unless we choose to keep it for like the rest of the holiday season, if there's any more candy being put out, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into when exactly the return label's good for, like if they have a cutoff for that. But there's definitely more room for more wrappers if we wanted to continue to do that. It just doesn't, thematically match the rest of the season.
Yeah, Halloween and Christmas, very different color schemes, that's
Yep.
for sure.
I would volunteer to put a little sign on it that says Christmas candy. I guess we just gotta find out like how long can we keep them for? And the other quick question I had was, does the company end up with extras, and because lots of places on campus have the candy thing, right? That have free candy out. So is it something we can keep around? And I guess Cody's gonna figure out how long we can keep it around for. And does the company have more that never got sent out? And since they're free, could we ever get them and have them around? Because this is a smart thing. That's plastic,
Yeah.
right?
In my guess, Roberta, the tricky thing is there was one per email address, I think was the rules that they had, because they actually covered the shipping of the box both ways and the
Yep.
box itself. So my thinking was that we'll keep an eye on this. Hopefully they'll have it again next Halloween season. I think that's probably when we see the most candy wrappers specifically on campus. And if so, this is a thing we could keep doing, maybe with the caveat of perhaps hiding some of the box. I know the one-stop box disappeared, and I think, did Linda's box disappear as well?
I didn't hear that it did. I thought that was
Okay.
still where it was supposed to be.
Okay, so it was just the one-stop box, which is kind of strange because, like, I can't imagine anybody would find much value in stealing a box of empty candy wrappers.
I don't trust those guys at all.
Yeah.
Those one-stop people.
As a
And so
former
I
one-stop
could,
person
if I wanted
yourself.
to, I'm sorry, if I wanted to order one using a student email, I could do that.
I don't see any reason why you couldn't. You just have to have an address for it to send to, but everything kind of shows up at the loading dock and Wayne distributes it anyway. So,
Yeah, but
and I know,
I'm there every day, so,
yeah, and I'm sure Wayne knows who you are, Roberta, so he would
Oh, yeah.
find you if your name was on it.
right, okay.
But,
Thank you.
yeah, I'll, Roberta, do you have the link to order those?
No, but I'll get it from Cody.
Okay, Cody, if you can't find it, let me know and I'll dig it out. But,
Nope,
yeah,
got it.
I would say with the exception of the weird things that happened, I would say it was a success. We'll try to keep doing it. Okay, if there's nothing else about the candy wrappers, then we'll move on to the winter clothing drive. And if anybody else wants to add anything about this, please feel free. I have some notes and I put them over here. So the drive is coming up. There's a lot of different components to it. The first component is the drop-offs, which I think have already started. And those go through the 21st. And my understanding is there's collection boxes in SBA Lounge, Trio, and the Connector. And my notes also say that once all the collections are done through the 21st, then the actual get your clothing itself will start on, and they're calling it the free store, will start on Tuesday, November 28th through noon on Friday that same week, which happens to be December 1st. And Cody, I don't know if you're a little bit more involved in this than I am and want to say anything else, or if I missed anything, or.
Oh, no, that just about sums it up so far. I believe that the sign-up sheet for volunteers for making sure that the product at the free store is organized and neatened up is still open, and I can share that link out to the green team list so that we can see if anybody wants to sign up and volunteer for that. But on schedule, I think they even put up a couple extra boxes, like we have one down in the library space down here, and I've seen a couple more throughout campus. So hopefully we'll get a lot of clothing and be able to give it all away.
Awesome. And we do have a plan for what to do with anything that might be left over, and it sounds like that'll work out well. So yeah, unless anybody has anything else to add on that, I don't know, Gab, if you're involved in that at all and have anything to add. I'm sure you've seen the boxes.
I'm involved. I don't have anything to add. I was just going to ask what our plan was for clothing that we might not use for the store, but it sounds like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, there's a place in Pittsfield, a church in Pittsfield. I forget exactly what they're called. They're on Tyler Street, and that's where we brought stuff in the past. And you know, I think that's the plan for anything left over. But you know, if all goes well, we'll get rid of all of it. So the only request I have for folks is and they're probably already have this covered, is if you happen to go through there, you try and snap a couple pictures on your phone just in case, you know, we want to, you know, I guess, you know, historically record the work that went into this. It would be a good idea, and I'm sure there's already folks doing that, but you know, more the merrier. All right, so the next item is battery recycling. And Cody, I know you said that there wasn't much to update on this.
Not much of an update at this point. It's still sort of in the works, but I just haven't had the time to really dedicate towards investigating it further and looking at all of our options. But definitely still a plan to get at least a container or two on campus and coordinate with Tammy and facilities to make sure we're collecting and safely transporting them back to where they need to go.
Great. Great. So that's something we're going to keep on our list and keep working on. And our next item, Tom, this is your item, is discussion on getting administrative buy-in on environmental initiatives on campus. And Tom, I don't know if you want to just take over and then we'll kind of go into the discussion from there.
Well, I don't want to take anything over, but I'll just talk about it. Basically, well, it's kind of a, you know, an anticipated position that I'm in, which is trying to convince maintenance and facilities to work alongside with any type of recycling program. There's a guy that's been here forever, from what I understand, and he's not very receptive to the idea of you know, just the basic stuff, because, you know, he's of the opinion that it's going to be extra work for his guys and all the rest of that. So, you know, my job is to convince him that it's not. And I'm going to ask you guys for your opinion on how to approach that.
Right. I know one of the advantages that we've had at BCC is sustainability is actually part of the college's mission. So
Right.
we've always been able to take that to, you know, whenever we get any sort of pushback, or we kind of remind folks, hey, you know, it is part of our mission. It's one of those bullet points when we talk about what we're supposed to be about. And that has always helped us in the past, especially since the BCC Green Team hasn't even had a budget until just recently. Getting all those things done just by reminding our campus partners that, you know, it's part of our mission. It's part of why we say we're here and what we do. And that's made a big difference for us. I know the other part, and I see Dave Moran is here, and I don't know if he wants to speak any to this at all, is it's really impossible to do these things unless you have buy-in from the folks who actually have to do the work, which in many cases is the facilities group. And we're super lucky that we have Dave and we have Tammy and you know, all those folks who also believe in these values. And even though I don't think it's an official bullet point in their job, they make it part of their job because it is part of the college's values.
Right.
So those were my initial thoughts. Anybody else have anything that they want to suggest? Any thoughts? Dave?
Yeah, I guess just to add to what you said is, you know, it does help when you have the buy-in with all of the stakeholders, if you will, all the people that, you know, in this case, you know, certainly with facilities, you know, it sounds like you're kind of banging your head against the wall a little bit up there. You know, so if you find that you're not, you know, really getting any traction and, you know, getting any support, then, you know, maybe kind of look at going up the ladder a little bit, you know, to see, you know, who else in the administration. I mean, you know, right up to the president, you know, to explain, you know, the goals, the mission. You know, as it already has been said, I think in a lot of aspects, it's been easier here at BCC because everybody's kind of been on board with it. They, you know, everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction, if you will. You know, I'm coming up on 10 years being here at BCC. I joined the green team in my first year, and then certainly through you know, wearing multiple hats through the years, we've always you know, supported it and supported all the initiatives and all of the you know, programs that we've had at the school. Certainly, you know, through RecycleMania, through the years, and you know, composting on campus, when the cafeteria was still up and running, and Kevin Kennedy was here and his staff, we you know, that whole entity was on board, and through the use of the compostable materials, and you know, the silverware and containers and things of that nature. So you know, certainly I think we've been very lucky to have as many people sharing the same goals and the same mission here at the school. So I think it's all about generating interest. You know, having a lot of education about you know, the goals of the green team, and you know, getting people on board and kind of generating some momentum to kind of overcome, you know, if what you're experiencing is an obstacle with the facilities department.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Dave. And I'm sort of right with you. I haven't banged my head against the wall yet. I haven't approached anybody yet. I just want to make sure that I have my strategy well thought out, and I've been duly warned about you know, talking to facilities before I do that. But I just wanted to talk to you guys before I approach them. So you know, my position is a supposition that they're going to, you know, not be incredibly happy about it. And I've also thought about talking. I've already gotten clearance from my division. They're completely on board, but I have not talked to the president's office yet, which was my inclination, which is why I went to you guys with the thought that, you know, if I don't do that, you know, what's my other option?
Well,
so I might do that.
The unfortunate part of you know, the bigger picture, like from the 30,000-foot view, is that almost everything we do, it costs money. And when you talk about money, certainly, as you had mentioned, you know, it can start with resources and personnel, manpower. You know, there is an added responsibility, some added work that goes along with it. And again, from a strictly a cost standpoint, you know, everything that I had mentioned earlier, like you know, when we do the composting, the materials that were used in the kitchen, you know, the silverware, things of that nature, that all comes with a cost, unfortunately. So, you know, a lot of times, perhaps a different angle you could take at it is that to see from a financial standpoint from the school what kind of support you know, they are willing to, you know, the school in general is willing to invest, because to just come forward and say, okay, this is what we want to do, that's all fine and well, but then you're going to hit a wall every time at some point, once, you know, the raw dollars and cents of it, you know, pencil goes to paper. So I think that if there's a buy-in from the financial branch of the institution, then certainly that kind of alleviates a lot of the anxiety and a lot of the pain that comes along with, you know, what people are perceiving is going to be problematic.
Yeah. Well, worst case scenario would be that, you know, I explain to them, you know, that the school sort of reinvests the money they save in trucking fees you know, toward in their direction. So I guess that, you know, that would be a play right there.
Yeah, I think every example you can use, you know, kind of make up a list. You know, some things will kind of organically you know, present themselves. They'll develop as you go, and certainly the more examples, the the more evidence of saving in one area that can be reallocated into another is really tremendous. And again, it kind of softens the blow, because certainly it's like when you know, you first come forward and you first open a conversation, as you're seeing is that people kind of have preconceived notions about, you know, they find all the negatives in it. You know, it's going to take up more of my staff's time. It's going to take up more of my budget, things of that nature. So certainly the more that you can soften it, the more that you can use examples of, okay, this may cost this, however, it will be offset by that. I think will really take, and you know, it's all about kind of gaining momentum and getting buy-in from you know, a lot of different areas.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Some great wisdom from Dave, who has been facilities director at BCC on an interim basis, I think more than once.
Well, I was the for real director for 5 years.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, Dave has a lot of experience with this stuff. And another thing, just thinking about this out loud, that you might want to do is see if you could just figure out who your current vendor is, and what kind of stuff they do pick up. Sometimes you can make a big impact just by making a few simple changes. Like if you just need some more bins on campus or better signage, one of the things that we're working on at BCC, like those are things that don't take staff time. They might take a little bit of, you know, money to set up initially. However, we often find we have extra things lying around. If you talk to folks like, I know, and Tammy in facilities is kind of our secret weapon. He kind of knows where the problem areas are, and he'll move things around to optimize things as needed. So, you know, that might be a way that you can approach it too, is say, yeah, there is a monetary cost and a staff cost, time cost with some of these, but other items, it's just a matter of identifying problems, finding a permanent fix, and sometimes that doesn't cost anything at all. Roberta, I see your hand up.
You might want to think about talking to your environmental science students, because that's a great source of energy and I would say commitment. And at your school, you've got students that are a lot longer than we do even.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually, there's a loose-knit group called the Sustainability Committee here. It's an ad hoc committee, and their primary function so far has sort of been to try to incorporate recycling into our campus culture, with limited success. And their main focus right now is to engage their environmental science students in projects, that type of thing. So that's a good lead. I've already talked to them about, you know, what they want to do and what's possible in terms of connecting with those students. So yeah, I mean, that's part of the equation as well. So I appreciate that input.
So yeah, Tom, feel free to come back, and maybe we can talk about this in a future meeting. Feel free to invite some of those other, you know, players that you have on campus to our meetings too, to meet us and ask their own questions. And there's a lot of information on the Green Team website as well, and the facilities website. So, you know, feel free to also just approach, you know, use the approach, hey, you know, BCC can do this. Why can't we do this?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Roberta, I see another hand.
You could also highlight small things that are working well, like all around your campus, you have these really nice mini pollinator gardens, and like, they're great. You know, they're a small thing. They kind of take care of themselves. You could just start highlighting the small sort of sustainability things that work well. I mean, even though that seems like a little thing, all those little things add up.
You know, positivity is always a great approach. Yeah, absolutely, Roberta. So Tom, I hope you found all that helpful, and feel free to come back, bring some friends, and maybe we can discuss this in the future once you make a little more progress.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always here as a resource.
All right, and I'm more than happy to, you know, lend a hand to your projects as well when I have, as I can. All right, thanks everybody.
All right. So our next item is thank you, Tom. Looks like he has somewhere else to be, which is A-okay. Our next item is Campus Race to Zero Waste, RecycleMania. It's coming up. I haven't looked up the exact dates, but usually the preseason starts the second to last week of January, and then it goes through all, and then the competition usually starts for real the first week of February, and it goes through all of February, all of March, and ends the last week of March. Now, we're going to be registering pretty soon. I know Sean has offered to help me with this, and Sean has also asked for pretty much the same thing I ask for every year, is help checking the dumpsters on either on certain mornings or because Sean and I did it last week. We kind of came up with a schedule, or I think I did it on like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he did it on Mondays and Wednesdays or something like that. And then Fridays, we kind of just discussed between us who was going to do it. And it's not a huge commitment, basically. And one of the things I was able to do is I talked about it with my supervisor. So I let my supervisor know, hey, there's RecycleMania season, so I might be coming in 10-15 minutes late because I'm checking the dumpsters. So it doesn't necessarily, if you communicate, have to take a lot of time out of your schedule. And our supervisors at BCC are pretty supportive too. So if anybody would like to help Sean and myself, I think I might be able to take one day out of the week during the week, because I am on campus in the mornings dropping my kid off. However, I also have to get all the way to Williamstown. So like doing it more than one day a week might be a little bit of a stretch, but we'll talk more about this as well in our December meeting, because that'll be our last meeting before RecycleMania really starts. We don't usually meet in January, but when we meet in February, we'll already be in RecycleMania. So we will definitely talk about this in December. Any other thoughts on any of that? Okay, so we'll just keep moving that along just like we discussed. And Roberta, we are up to any of the items you would like to talk about next. We already talked about the nature trail, but you also have the Pollinator, community garden, and the Hoffman garden.
Okay, I'll also say a thing that I've said before, anybody that's interested in getting seeds that you can plant, you don't have to wait till spring to plant seeds in your own garden. If you have one, you can do it just like Mother Nature does it, and you can put down seeds now, walk on them, and let Mother Nature make them sprout in the spring. So I'm still sorting, and there's so many seeds, so don't be shy, because I'd rather see them get planted. If a lot of them don't get planted before the ground freezes, I'm going to do the thing I do every year and go all around campus and just fling them and walk on them, because that's how you get flowers to grow. The other piece is that we've got another new helper, a student that's helping me do a couple of things, and I'll tell you more about that when I get that figured out. They've already helped me on one project, and the raised bed project, I'm going to start measuring, probably not today because it's supposed to be bad weather, but I have more measurements to do up at Hoffman. Tom Tining's totally signed on to that. He thinks it's a great idea, but we also know that that's a very long-term project. And so as soon as those measurements get done and I figure out how to meet up the measurements with the screenshots from the drone video and figure out how to do the measurements, then I need to give all that to Gina Steck, who's helping us. And she thinks because the raised beds that we already have was about a $5,000 project, she's thinking of going for a grant that's about a $10,000 grant. Again, this is going to take a while, but we're trying to lay all the pieces of the groundwork to make it go smoothly so that we don't end up like, uh-oh, we need something yesterday. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to put all like the pieces in place. The garden over behind SBA is getting slow but sure cleaned up, and waiting till most of the seeds are dry. So if you see a lot of brown leaves and stuff, that's because I'm waiting for the seeds really, really dry out to cut them and then give them to people. I think that's about it. I mean, also I'm rehabbing the pollinator, Katie Hickey's original pollinator garden, which is around the on the east side of this building, and getting that looking nice. It's got a nice big new wide 2 pathways in it, so you can actually walk through it and enjoy the flowers. I think that's about it for now. Also,
Awesome.
Tammy has been helping a ton. And then the other interesting piece of it is Chris DeGray actually reached out a couple of days ago, which is just marvelous. You know, And, you know, getting the conversation going. And also Christine has been completely on board, even though she's not here. She's always like, how's it going? So we're really lucky. It's like Dave was saying earlier, we got all these people that are invested in good sustainability type things happening here.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that you can't buy is you can't buy people actually caring about stuff. So no matter, you know, that's really worth its own weight in whatever monetary comparison you want to make.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Roberta. And we'll do more updates next week. And just to kind of build off of what you said, I noticed when I was on campus dropping off my son this morning, it looks like that construction near the drop-off circle is continuing to move forward. And I think I saw some bushes in that area that were recently put in, which it's nice to see, like amidst all the concrete they've been pouring, some actual plants in something green.
Yeah, there's a lot of concrete.
Yeah.
There's an amazing amount of concrete. It's an astounding amount of concrete.
And it's going to make the whole area ADA compliant and all that, but I'm sure that that's something that throughout the years that the facilities crew will work on, you know, making it as much in alignment with our campus as possible, which, you know, BCC is in a gorgeous area, Pittsfield, and it's so pretty. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that it was good to see some living things kind of sprinkled in with all that construction already. Moving on to the next, pretty much our last topic actually is scheduling next semester's meetings. So we've been doing the meetings so far during kind of my lunch breaks here in Williamstown. And I think the next semester we can probably move around to scheduling them more. And what we had done in the past, we would do mornings sometime, then afternoons other times. I think like there's really no good time to schedule meetings for these kind of things, which is kind of why we record them, and we'll continue to record them. But if anybody has any thoughts, like I hate to do like doodle polls, especially with like how many people there are in the green team, because that's like, I don't think anybody likes doodle polls. And on top of that, like like there's always going to be people who aren't going to be happy and can't make the meeting. But again, that's why we record it. So I just wanted to put that out there and say next semester, I'm going to try to have meetings scheduled more in the mornings. I think probably like 11 a.m. meetings, I think might work better for folks. We'll probably stick to like a Tuesday. I think our turnout was better when we did Tuesdays. But like anybody who's seeing this or has any thoughts, and you know, if you folks who are here have any thoughts about days that might work better, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also planning on finding a meeting owl room to book these meetings going forward as well. So once we get the schedule for that figured out, that might get more people coming again, versus the Zoom only option we're doing right now.
Great. I know I was super excited to see that enrollment is up at BCC, which is really nice. And the campus has been busier than ever. So it's actually a really great opportunity for us to get more folks interested in Green Team. And just, you know, the more hands make for lighter work. So, all right. If there's no other thoughts on that topic, then we'll open it up to any other topics anybody else would like to discuss, anything not on the agenda. All right. Roberta.
At the top of the chat, if you didn't get a chance to see the email, I put an email out and I used the everyone at BCC list, the Berkshire Natural History Conference, 7th annual. It's a blast. It's really fun. This year, it's again back down at some very fancy private school in Sheffield. And to pay $25 to go to it is worth the lunch alone. Even if you didn't go to anything else, I mean, really good food. But the conference itself is really nice. And if you really want to be learning from people that are really diligently in the Berkshires trying to do as much as they can for the environment and for sustainability, you'll learn. It's like taking a whole semester course in one day. Like you learn so much stuff. And It's 15 for students and 25 for everybody else. And it's a week from this Saturday. contact Taylor. Taylor Woodward here to pay for your ticket. You can contact Tom, but Tom keeps saying, talk to Taylor, because Tom's busy getting the conference ready.
Right, right. And usually for that, the full agenda for that conference comes out just a few days before, because they're working on it all the way up until that time. Is that right, Roberta?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. You heard it here. It's worth the cost alone just for the lunch. So, and then you get to learn as well. So sounds like a great deal for everybody involved. All right. Any other topics or anything else anyone would like to discuss? Right. I'm not hearing any. So I think that is our meeting for this month. Again, we have another meeting coming up beginning of December. I'll send emails out. Anybody has any agenda items, please feel free to send them. And Cody, thank you as always for recording and posting the meeting. If you need anything from me, just let me know. And that's it. Thank you everybody for coming. I really appreciate it.